here today and officers are aware of that and have a copy of that on the desk, and we are adhering to that for the safety of everybody. But I'd just like to welcome Cabinet members, also welcome officers, and also welcome those people that are tuning in on the YouTube channel, I think, today. And if you would like to see what the agenda is, that's available on the council's website. There's also a link for see the members that are here in the room. But I'm going to go around the room just so that people can introduce themselves. But firstly, I'll do apologies, and I have apologies from Councillor Jill Waring, one of our portfolio holders who's on leave at the moment and is back with us on Monday. But I'm Councillor Simon Taggle, leader of the council, and I'll go that way. Mike.
I'm Councillor Stephen Sweeney. I'm Deputy Leader of the Council and Portfolio Holder for Finance and Efficiency. Thank you.
I'm Trevor Johnson, Environmental, Recycling and Waste Portfolio Holder.
I am Paul Northcott, Portfolio Holder, Cabinet Member for Planning and Growth, Newcastle Borough Council.
And I'm Helen Maxfield, Cabinet Member, Portfolio Holder for Community Safety and Wellbeing.
Thank you, Helena. We will then go for our agenda today. Second item is the declarations of interest. Do I have any for items that are on our agenda today? Looking around, Cabinet members, no. Item 3 is minutes of the previous meeting from the 8th of July, attached on page 5 and 8. Can we agree those as the correct record, Cabinet members?
Agreed.
All agreed, thank you. First item of business then is our Back on Track Coronavirus Recovery Plan update on page 9. We've been having these during obviously our lockdown meetings on Zoom, and to keep track of the situation across the borough, not only in council services, but for our town centre, for our support for health and wellbeing, for our services to the public, and also on the financial implications of the pandemic. And we've got another report ahead of us today. And I'm going to go through it as we always do, section by section. And the first section is reopening of safe and successful retail centres. And Stephen, I'm going to bring in Stephen, Deputy Leader.
Yeah, I've nothing really to add on this. I think the reopening of Newcastle Town Centre has gone very well. Certainly, when I speak to the police, they're very, very encouraged by the way that everybody is behaving in the pubs and bars across the town centre and the borough in general. And I think the response from the general public in our town centre is very, very encouraging. The market seems busy. There's been plenty of people around, and altogether, I think it's gone very, very well. Thank you.
I think I'd echo that from what I'm seeing. I've seen a busy town centre. I'm seeing a town centre that is social distancing, which stands in good stead if things do change. But at least our town, as we've seen, and we'll talk about in a bit, the recent outbreak in Silverdale, that has been controlled. And I think that has shown that those pubs that came into the frame with the town centre have behaved responsibly and been able to remain open, safe for people to use. I'm going to bring in other cabinet members. Anybody else want to speak on the first bit, reopening our successful town centres? No? Okay, we'll move on to the second part, which is supporting health and wellbeing. I'll bring in our portfolio holder for this area, Helena.
Thank you. Yeah, again, following the easing of the lockdown, we've still got our support in place for our homeless and rough sleepers, and that is going to continue to do so. Obviously, we've got a few members who actually won't engage, but we are doing constant day-to-day checking on their welfare. The actual team are currently now in the looking forward phase to actually sort of be looking towards the severe weather, which will actually activate from the 1st of November to the 31st of March. And that's where if the temperature hits 0 on any given night, then obviously our team will go out to ensure that all our rough sleepers and homeless will be accommodated for that night until such time as the temperature is above 0, using a variety of different accommodation that we have available to us.
Thank you, Helena. I think just reinforcing your point there is that the council is doing and will continue to do all that it can, in line with the government's directives to us to ensure that everybody has a place to go to, and there's no need to sleep on the streets, and also no need to be couch surfing and not using social distancing in somebody else's property as well. So our team are doing all they can. There's always those cases which don't adhere to that and end up back on the streets, but we're giving them all the advice we can to ensure that they are safe as much as they can be. And as you say, as the winter approaches, that becomes even more important, as it does every year, for our town and also for out in our district areas and Kidsgrove as well. Any other comments on supporting health and well-being? No? Okay. Economic recovery, Stephen?
Not a great deal to add apart from what's on here, really. We've now given out £21.793 million to around 1,900 businesses. That's money it's central government money that we're passporting out to these businesses. There's two schemes involved. There was the small business one and the discretionary one. This is both added together. The scheme is now finished. We're still processing things, but we're not having any new ones now. And I think 21.793 is a decent figure, and I think our officers have done very well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more comments at this stage from anybody? I think I'll just mention that the long-term prospects for recovery are really, we're pinning on our hopes on the Future High Streets Fund, which we should hopefully hear of in the next couple of months. That's £16 million investment in the town centre, starting with the regeneration of the Rycroft site. Then also our town deals as well, which we've got more about later on the agenda. I think that's really important for both Kidsgrove and Newcastle towns to get the best bids in for those, so we can use that money for the economic recovery as we move forward. And that's going to be the focus of this cabinet, this administration and council, and I believe also, you know, the community and the councillors out there as well, to make sure we got the best bids possible to get the money from the government on that. The next one is stepping up council services. I'm sure Jill Waring, if she was here today, would talk about J2. Obviously opened as all leisure centres did in a controlled and safe way. We have had the issue of the pool problems, which has meant that the main pool is closed. That is going to be for an extended period, trying to find the problem of the issue there. And again, apologies from the council to members of J2 who haven't been able to use the large pool. We're working on that to get that sorted. But I think it's great to have the rest of J2 open. I think that shows, that we can open safely, and hopefully going forward, if there is any change later this afternoon, we can still accommodate J2 being open as much as possible. The museum, of course, Jill would say about that, is open safely, and people are enjoying that again in a safe manner, and we'll be reviewing that as government advice changes as well. Customer services. Obviously, in tandem with the library here at Castle House, we have stepped up some of our customer services. But again, we do offer obviously a phone and over online service, which is, as we'll see later in our performance indicators, has really come into its own, particularly the online element. So that is always available 24/7 for residents if they need to contact the council or to access a service. Anything to add, other cabinet members on, Steve? Yeah.
Yeah, I just think the council has responded absolutely superbly in this very, very trying time that we've had. And I think, I'm proud of living in Newcastle. I think I'm privileged to live in Newcastle. And I'm sure a lot of our residents believe the way the council has responded and behaved in this emergency shows the council in a good light. Thank you very much.
For anything in your service area? I know we've got recycling coming up in a bit, its own paper, but anything you want to add on some of the other services covered in your area?
I'll just come in there. Yes, on bereavement services, as you know, we were down to 10 people allowed to attend a funeral. Now we're up to 30, I believe, and it's a step in the right direction.
Okay, thank you, Trevor. Paul?
Thank you, Leader. Yes, particularly proud of the hard work that the officers have done across the board, really, keeping things running and services unhindered as much as possible. Particularly proud and worthy of a mention is the planning department. In terms of the planning performance, has been 100% across the majors and non-majors, and they've continued to bring in a revenue for the council during this time. As small as it is, it's been a vital lifeline, and I'm pleased that the performance of the officers has been exceptionally strong. And whilst in the past we've had a knocking for not having good figures, it's something we can be particularly proud of, and it's a shame that it's happened in the COVID period. But that being said, it's happened and it is good. It's really pleasing to be in the top percentile and to have 100% to report, which I don't think we could quite match in future years. I'm not sure we can live up to that expectation again and again, but certainly while we're here, and we can certainly shout about it. And it's just a testament to the officers involved across the board, really, and that's just a small section of my portfolio. And if there's anything like that, the representation is that staff have worked really hard. And I've adapted to the agile working principles of doing online platforms and integrating that into the service delivery, and that's been very pleasing. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd echo that, Paul. I mean, the planning stats and the way we've kept on with our planning meetings throughout this period, keeping the decisions rolling and the quality of the decisions as well via the planning committee as well, even though they've had to act virtually, have been excellent as well. I'm just going to go on to the local outbreak measures. Obviously, we've heard in the last 24 hours that the Silverdale outbreak has been stood down. I think we need to note that and also say that our local environmental health staff here at the Borough, working with the county and other agencies, have done an excellent job on I wasn't going to use this phrase, but I am, the whacking the mole, can't even say it, using one of Boris's terms there, but it's just a classic case of what we can do there to stamp down on an outbreak. And the community have been excellent on this. Over 2,000 people were tested with our, we've got our testing centre on the Rycroft, and that has shown, I think, almost a textbook way of dealing with these outbreaks. I know all of them are different, but this particular one has worked out well for us, keeping the infections down, tracking and tracing. Those premises are involved have been notified. The track and trace has then progressed from that. And we've managed to obviously keep the numbers down and been able to, through the county council, to declare that at an end. But again, we're vigilant that we may have other cases and other outbreaks that come up, and I have confidence in our staff. The only issue I would raise is that we do, obviously, as all councils do, have a very limited resource in environmental health, and there are other things that environmental health have to do, and they have those services such as inspections, etc., have suffered during particularly the last 10 days or so during the Silverdale outbreak. But I am talking to officers and also to the county. I am the Borough Council's rep on the county-wide outbreak board. I do have a meeting later and I'll be raising the resourcing issues that we do have, because we want to be able to react to outbreaks, but also we have a job to do outside of that, which is just as important for safety and for the lives of our residents. So we will be focusing on that as well. Going to move now to economic recovery. Stephen?
I don't want to go through all the page of the report. Suffice it to say that a few months ago, we were thinking we were sort of £3-4 million down. Now that figure's down to something like 320,000 over the 12-month period. That's the difference it's made. And I think this is the council lobbying the LGA, district council network. It's the MPs, it's the council itself, and the government has listened, and it's had these representations of council saying these are the problems we've got. And I think it accepted those problems, and it's passported the money down. At the moment, we've had 1.743 million, which includes £170,000, which was the money we were using to pay for processing the grants. The 21 million I was talking about, that's part of that money. But we've had this 1.743 million, and there's some more coming when they're going to pay us 75% of any shortfall we've got in any of our budgets for the money we'd take off, say, car parking and things like that. So all in all, what was £3-4 million down to 321,000 is a much more manageable system, much more manageable figure, and I feel its progress is very much going in the right way. And it takes I wouldn't say it takes the pressure off, but it certainly is more manageable now, and it's a lot more positive outcome now for this council, I think. Thank you.
And of course, we were monitoring that going forward as we refresh our MTFS for the future years. I think also at this point, I will say that as part of our Back on Track, we are reviewing obviously the position. We are in the midterm of our term of office, obviously 2 years to go until 2022. So we are reviewing our council plan, and I'm proud that we've managed to keep a lot of our council plan on track throughout this, and we're getting back on track on other things. We do have an item on Kisgrove Sports Centre later which proves that, and I think as we go forward we need to hone our priorities for the new reality which we have, which is extra pressures on the council. And talking about funding, I think the government will have to look in the future, I think, particularly if we have an autumn of lockdowns in various areas and it affects the borough, that will affect our income again. And I think the government still will need to put the hand in its pocket to support local councils, because we are the front line in helping our communities and delivering what will be the recovery to this as well, at a crucial point in really the time for the country and the time for the borough. Okay, that's our report there. We're asked to note that and obviously to debate, we have done. So can we move that recommendation? All agreed? Thank you.
Yeah, agreed.
Second item is the Advanced Town Deal funding on page 17. Pleasure of moving this today. Obviously, we put in our bid to the government for that Advanced Town Deal funding. That's £1 million for Newcastle and 750,000 for Kidsgrove. There's a number of schemes in that, as detailed in the report, which we talked about at previous meetings. Investments upfront, which need to be spent and delivered by next April. So we've got schemes there, such as helping Kidsgrove Sports Centre scheme to start in Kidsgrove. Some work with the school with their pitches. Also some facilities for young people in Kidsgrove, and also improvements, health and wellbeing improvements for the park, Clough Hall Park. And then in Newcastle, we've also got a raft of things which we want to do to kickstart some of the regeneration in the town, also some of the regeneration out in Nutton as well. But I completely endorse this. What this paper does is to, when we will hear from the government, hopefully in the next few weeks, that our plans are okay to proceed, and we will then get on and deliver that first batch of money from the town deals, a delivery on a commitment that's been made to level up by the government. And this is what we see in real life, real money coming into the borough for us to spend on our priorities to help our communities. Open it up to a debate now. Helena?
Thanks, Chair. I welcome this. The 750,000 for Kidsgrove will go a long way to help with the projects that we've got in mind. The thing that is a real positive with this money is that actually we get a say on how this has been spent to help and improve the community, which, you know, goes a long way for confidence with residents when they're having an input on that. So I welcome this. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Helena. Stephen?
Yeah, thank you, Leader. £1 million for Newcastle. The highlight of the first item is clearing the Zanzibar nightclub. I'm of an age, I remember that as Ritzy's, but it's the Zanzibar nightclub now. And that's the highlight of it. But it's £1 million. It's extra money to the town deal money on top of what we're going to get anyway. So it's the government again putting money where its mouth is, and it's on the levelling up agenda for places like Newcastle. It's not a pipe dream. It's not some sort of smoke and mirrors. It's real money that's coming into this borough, and I absolutely totally welcome it. Thank you,
Paul.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, I'm encouraged by this. Investment in Newcastle Town Centre and Newcastle as a whole is much welcome. If we're going to respond from this COVID crisis that we've all been facing, it's vital that we take stock and use the money to best effect. I have no doubt whatsoever that we shall do that. And Kidsgrove Sports Centre underlines our commitment as an administration to the people of Kidsgrove and the community and the wider issues, not just in Newcastle Town, but in the wider issues such as Kidsgrove. It's important to those communities that we demonstrate that we are serious about supporting the projects that are there in the community, and the government money that's been handed down will come in to good effect. I'm sure that I'd welcome even more if that's coming down the pipeline in months or years to come. Thank you.
Paul, Trevor?
All I'd like to do, Leader, is just echo what everybody has said. Okay.
So I think, you know, we've said obviously welcoming this upfront money, and as Stephen said, you know, there's more money to come if we put in a really good bid, which we're planning to do for both Kidsgrove and Newcastle. I think if we to show we can deliver with this money and deliver the outcomes we want as set out in the agenda, I think will put us in good stead for that further bid for money through the town deal plans, which will be formulated and submitted later in the year. We have a series of recommendations before us there. I won't read them out because they're there for to be read, but do we all agree those recommendations? Thank you. That will allow us to, once we get the go-ahead from the government, to get on and get that money spent for those priorities for our two towns. Item 6, again associated with the one we've just looked at, is the Kidsgrove Sports Centre refurbishment on page 27. Really pleased to bring this forward. Any who's an avid watcher of Cabinet, I don't know if there's any people out there that are, but can view the minutes and know how I've followed this story over the years, as it is years now, they will see that we've been stepping our way forward on this project. And then over the summer, we've had, you know, the chosen partner and contractor, Wilmot Dixon, on site doing some pre-works to do surveys, etc. We've now got a cost nailed down, so to speak, which is detailed in the report, 5.9 million, sorry, and also the funding options are available to the council there, and the use of some of that advanced money to kickstart this project off in October. We intend to take the building under our control from the county council in October. We will have then the cash sum which they're going to give to us. We're still negotiating with Sport England to try and up their contribution somewhere in the region of 100,000 at the moment. We would hope to get more from them on that, and our MP is for the area, Jonathan Gullis, is working for us on that. And I think this is a really good piece of news today. And I think the work the group have done over the summer, over the lockdown period, the Kidsgrove Community Centre group with their chair, Mark Clues, and also Dave Rigby, and everybody involved has been great to get us to this stage where we've got a proposal. We do have a document which is is commercially sensitive because of the nature of it, which is attached, which we'll be discussing in confidential as well. But I think the recommendations before us there, as we note the further steps, and that we take this forward as a project going forward, and we seek also at a future date the endorsement of full council on that. But for the importance of this, I will read out the recommendations. Is we note the progress from April 2020, and obviously the work with the Kidsgrove Leisure Community Group, how they've worked with on the design and the scope and got the budget to a level which we can afford as a council. And note the detailed survey work, and then of course the target cost of 5.998 million. And note that as we've said, we've got the advance money from the coming down the line to kick off the development. And then, of course, that's not in the bag at 100% yet, but we do have to have a reserve in the budget there of 400,000 if we don't get that, to be able to kickstart the project off in October. And at the end there will be further steps that come out of this as we move to the stage of actually getting on site in October, and that is for that delegation for myself and the director, Simon Mack, for us to move this project forward, along with the community group and also with Wilmot Dixon. I'll open it up to Cabinet Views. Halna?
Thank you. Yes, I support this 100%. It's tremendous work that the community group and ourselves have actually put into to bring this to fruition. As it says, you know, it's about putting our commitment to provide sports facilities that are going to be modern, attractive and high quality. And it's supported by residents, community groups. The level of detail that they've done to ensure that accessibility for all has been looked at and due consideration given to how it's going to be put into place. And I think, as you've just said, we're actually in a good place now with a scheme that we can support and fund within an acceptable timescale, and for such a large undertaking. And I think the sooner that it has started, the sooner it can open, and that's got to be a win-win. Thank you.
Helena, Stephen?
Yeah, obviously concur with everything Helena says, and it's a win for the people of Kidsgrove. I'm quite glad to see the funding program is all in place now, and all the letters are dotted and T's crossed and everything else. And I think it's very encouraging, and I think it's good. It's totally good news for the people of Kidsgrove. Well done to everybody concerned. Thank you.
Paul?
Thank you, Leader. Yes, I won't go on too much about this. Just suffice to say that it shows what can happen when there's cooperation between the community and the administration to put a project together, work with each other, and in the light of when the sports centre was closed before, this is a total transition in terms of the way the council's working with the community. And it just shows you what hard work and a point in the right direction, and thanks to the officers as well to coordinate this and set up the groups and the governance that's been established and strong now. And it's a positive outlook for the future, which I'm sure the residents of Kidsgrove will appreciate. Thank you.
You, Paul. Trevor?
I think it should be noted that it's the tenacity of the leader of this council that we are in the state that we are, that we've kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and I think it's fantastic.
Thank you, Trevor. I think, at the depths of the lockdown, we were thinking, will the scheme ever get up and running? But I think the work we've managed to do during the summertime is, we're not far behind the target we wanted of starting work on the site in summer. It's going to be autumn, but I think, the situation we've had has really delayed it. But Wilmot Dixon and the community group have worked really hard to get these plans for us to have today, and we enable our finance officer and Steve to cost this up. And under 8.3, there are the financial implications, obviously, of this. We had throughout this process, we've had a cross-party cabinet panel that's met, involving all the local ward councillors and representatives from the groups on the council, which I chaired, and we had a meeting. Was it last Monday? Not Monday, just gone, the Monday before, which all cross-party support for this project to get this Kidsgrove Sports Centre open and refurbed. And that will now press ahead after this decision. But what we will do is we will, at the first available opportunity, hopefully on the 23rd of September, take this to full council for a debate and also an agreement from them as well to take this forward, which I think is the right thing to do, given that you can trace this decision-making process all the way back to the summer of 2017, when this group, when in opposition, put forward a motion for a special meeting of the council where we discussed the closing of Kidsgrove Sports Centre and set the council on the route to where we've come today. And I'm really happy to be sitting here today and delivering this. I look forward to, as per the recommendations, working with officers in the community group and our contractors to get this project working on the ground and get to that opening date of spring 2022. I think if people have read the Sentinel, the local paper, there was an error in that, said that it would be opening in January 2021. If the report is clear, it's will be finished in the autumn of 2021, and it will be obviously opened by the community group in the first part of 2022, just to be clear. But if people would like to, who are viewing or members will have seen these, but there are a plan on the council website which show the layout of the new sports centre, what we're endorsing today to go forward. But with those recommendations we've got before us, do we all agree that? Excellent, thank you. Moving then to our next item 7, which is delivery of the council's new recycling service and the developments for the future. Over to Trevor.
I apologise. I say it's 2 years ago this month since at Cabinet we agreed to adopt the recommendations of the cross-party Cabinet panel that I chaired to transform our recycling and waste service into one which is reliable, efficient and easier for our residents to recycle. A service redesign of this scale and nature was a major undertaking, with it being necessary to change our entire fleet, procure outlets for the material we collect, design communication programs, deliver new wheelie bins and bags to every household in the borough, and review all our collection rounds. Originally planned to start this month, the impact that COVID-19 on the service meant that we had to accelerate the plan, and due to a huge effort by everyone involved, I was delighted that we actually achieved this over a month early. This is a service that touches every resident of the borough on a weekly basis, and Cabinet and Scrutiny regularly monitor the progress and implementation of the project to ensure that it kept on track. During our deliberations, we were informed that our credits for collecting of garden waste were being stopped. We had two choices. 1, withdraw the service altogether, or 2, introduce a subscription service. And we opted for the latter. The uptake surpassed our expectations, and now, during its second year, tonnage is on a par with pre-subscription collections, with no evidence of illegal dumping or garden waste. I'd also like to thank residents for their cooperation in bringing the new service. I have received such positive feedback by residents who are so pleased with their new bin and bag. It has made it easier and simpler for them to recycle, which is exactly what we said we would do. A little footnote here. Next month, we expect delivery of the last 2 freighters, which I call mini freighters, and this will enable us to service areas where we've had access problems. In other words, these freighters will reach the parts other freighters cannot reach, if anyone can remember the Heineken ad. Food waste has restarted, and the uptake is improving week on week. As we get the infrastructure up to scratch at the depot, hopefully we will start looking for additional collections from the corporate arena. And I'd like to commend all the officers for all their hard work. Thank you.
Thank you, Trevor. And I liked your little quip there about that, but I'm going to add another one. It says it does exactly what it says on the bin. Yeah, and I think it's a massive improvement from what we inherited from the previous administration, which was a failing box system, which collapsed every time there was any problems with broken down vehicles, which was one of the scourges of that system, and also any change in the weather, like a change in wind direction, caused everything to blow up the street. This one is much more compact, as you say, and I think every comment I've had from the public and residents in my ward has been that they like the change and they can see why we're doing it, and actually the increase in options to recycle is amazing. I think we are getting more recycling. And I see that myself using the system, the options, it's much easier. I think it was the right thing to do, and it was the right thing to do to bring it forward as well as we did, because of the pandemic and the changes we made to the services. Even though we didn't reduce our collection to people at the door, we had to change the way we did it, and that enabled us really to move this forward, wasn't it, Trevor? And I'd like to thank you for your hard work on this, and for the cabinet, because we all have had an input into this, as you know, and for officers for working this through and getting this up and running and being successful as far as I can see at the moment. And of course, you keep it under monitoring. There are some extra steps which we're taking, as you've said, on this to improve the service for those people that currently aren't operating upon it. And I think it's a good service, and I think we should blow our trumpets on this, because we've changed something that was a disaster into something that is a service that people and the borough can be proud of. And I think it puts the resident first in it, and it's a resident focused service at the moment, and we'll hope to improve that even further as we go on for everybody in the borough. Open up to comments now, Paul.
Thank you, Leader, and thank you, Trevor, for bringing in this excellent service along with your officers. I think I'll put it very simply in terms of when the old system was in place, when it was introduced, my inbox every single day contained a complaint of something wrong, not being delivered, not there, not collected, etc. And this didn't let up throughout the year. It continued week in and week on. There was always something, particularly in the rural area where most of my patch is. And that thankfully has not happened since the introduction of this service, apart from a couple of occasions which the service has reacted to very quickly and sorted it out. So it's a testament really to the hard work and planning that's gone into this. Obviously the cabinet have been involved with that, and yourself with officers very closely. And I'm pleased to see that it's a success, and up full steam ahead with this one, because the residents, particularly in the rural area where they felt particularly aggrieved before with the old system and it wasn't fit for purpose, that this is now delivering something that they can actually buy into. So thank you very much for that.
Anna?
Thank you. Just echo what's already been said. The fact, I think, what needs to be remembered, that this originally wasn't meant to be rolled out until now, September, and yet actually we were able to bring it forward and coming out on phase approach from beginning of June, wasn't it, as I recall. And I think actually, this is a testament to the team that's behind this report, from officers to the crew, workforce, and everyone in between. They've done a sterling job. I've not had any complaints, and as my colleague here has said, anything that has cropped up has been dealt with very, very quickly. So support this 100%. Brilliant.
Elna, Steve?
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I'd obviously agree with everything everybody said. I think the previous administration were focused on saving money, whereas we were focused on what the customer wants, what the resident wants in Newcastle, to produce a good service. And the previous system was truly, truly appalling with these wretched boxes and everything. People stop me now and say what a good system is. Nobody ever says it's bad. Says nobody ever complains. I get no emails about rubbish blowing down the road, this sort of thing. I think it's been a real success for this council, and I thank everybody involved with it. All through the pandemic, all the collections have been kept up as they were, or the number of collections anyway, and we've got the food waste going as well. It's just, I think it's been a huge achievement. I thank you, Trevor, and I thank all your officers as well for this. It's been a really successful operation. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. And we don't rest on our laurels, as Trevor said. We will continue to refine this and improve it so that more and more of the borough, particularly the flats, etc., can begin to share in this recycling scheme which we brought in. And I think, Trevor, just over to you finally. It'd be interesting to see what the figures as we go forward on the uptake and amount of recycling which we do get. Because I say personally, I feel as if I'd probably see doing more recycling than we've ever done, because of more plastics we can now recycle than we ever have before. So just over to you to finally sum up.
No, fine there. No, I haven't actually got the figures to hand yet. Obviously, when we go back to 2 red spots there's a good explanation for that. But no, I think we're going to be absolutely fine as we go forward now. That's it. Okay.
Recommendations before us there. Should we add a recommendation, obviously thanking all of the staff that have planned this and also working on the front line delivering this service for us throughout the borough. And I know that they're happy with this system more than they were with the previous one, because even our staff thought it was a system that was very difficult to use, not for them to do, and we've made it simpler both for the residents and for our staff as well. So if we could add that recommendation as a recommendation B, and if officers could pass that on via Dave Adams, our director, to the frontline staff, that would be great. Thank you. Paul, sorry.
Can I just add something to that, Leader, that we thank residents for being patient while we introduced the new system transition from the old one, that things have worked out for the better, and they've played their part as well. Thank you.
Definitely. All agreed? Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the statement of community involvement, and Paul's dealing with this. Over to you, Paul.
Thank you, Leader. I'm delighted to introduce this report today, which is the Newcastle under Lyme and Stoke-on-Trent joint statement of community involvement. This is basically provides opportunities for the wider community and highlights the ways in which information is made available. It was the joint SCI was adopted back in 2015, and it's felt that it needed a refresh in the light of planning policy changes on a national level, and to incorporate the things like neighbourhood development plans. So it's been undertaken to take it into account that ensures consistency with the legislation that's in place, and also in comparison with best practices that are held elsewhere. And also sort of to make sure that all information, including sort of hyperlinks that are involved with the council website, are currently working and directing people to the right place. Minor changes have been proposed for the new SCI, and it's reflected in this draft joint statement of community involvement attached as Appendix A that members can see to this report. The main changes of this are detailed in parts 1 to 4 with Appendix 1 and 8 in terms of who's been consulted with this. It's basically focusing on updating dates. A couple of sentences have been added regarding website accessibility of the documents. But this basically underpins where we are in terms of going anywhere out to consultation, that we have all our mechanisms in place to make sure that the communities in which we serve are given that opportunity to get involved, to have their say, and to shape the way that we want to go forward in the next few years. So it's important that we have this joint statement of community involvement for both councils to work to, especially with the joint local plan being on the horizon. It would have been good practice anyway, had we not been actively doing this with Stoke-on-Trent anyway. We would have had to have one as an authority, as a standalone anyway. So it makes good prudence and practice that we're bringing this together. So the report is and the recommendations are set out there for you, Cabinet members, with the recommendations.
Thank you, Paul. And I think, yes, 2015 is a long time ago now, so it's our time that we did refresh this, particularly as we're getting towards consultation stages on the various local plan parts as well in the future. Any other comments from Cabinet members on that? We've got the recommendations before us as moved by Paul. All agreed? Thank you. Moving to our next item, item 9, which is the financial and performance review report. Two parts to this. The finances first. We'll deal with that. Steve, anything to add from your further comments on finance relating to this report?
No, I haven't really got anything else to add that I've not already said, to be honest with you.
Move then to the performance report part of this, which is attached. We will have to move our agendas sideways for this because they're printed sideways. And of course, we've got the performance data in each of our priorities. First one is local services that work for local people. And there's a raft of indicators there, some in Trevor's department, which I think he's going to talk about, and also some in Steve's department as well. But Trevor, on those to do with yours, which are street scene and recycling.
Thank you, Leader. No, these figures that here, we are a bit down with yes, we are down on figures on the waste. Well, we've got additional waste, and it's all to do with the collections through the COVID period, if you check the dates and so on. But it's all come, those figures are going to come on stream by the next quarter, and I don't think there'll be any problems.
Okay. And as the street scene, obviously, there were changes made during the COVID arrangements, which meant that meant that obviously the normal street scene operations didn't continue, but we've managed to get them back on track. And I think this I should have pointed out at the beginning. This quarter is fully within the COVID upset that we've had, so we are reflecting on that. And I'm sure when we get to Paul's area, he's going to talk about the planning, how we've done really well during that. But Steve, anything to add on your indicators there?
It's just the one in the quarter, I think it's worth talking about, really.
Okay.
Thank you, Leader. No, just a little side. What's the word I'm looking for? We get a benefit, the fact that with the new system, we've got a lot less street litter. And that is releasing a lot of street scenes capabilities, Okay.
Not the blowing around of boxes and etc. as we used to have. Over the page, we've got a number of ICT indicators there, and I think that is testament to the fact that our online and staff working from home and customer services is delivering on obviously people's inquiries. A lot of greens there. I think on the revs and bends stuff, Steve, anything to mention on that on page 14?
Superb. 112. Percentage of national non-domestic rates is a bit of a warning, but it's getting better. Of course, one of the reasons happening is we can't take anybody to court because the courts are shut. We're also told not to. We started doing soft sort of letters out to people, businesses saying they haven't paid. But the reason it's there is we can't do anything about it. So we're doing everything we can, but the government told us not to do too much, so we're not doing too much. That's it.
A brief word over 1.13, the human resources and the sickness figures. I think it shows the resilience of our staff there, and those that have gone into self-isolation during this period have all come back after and back into work in their appropriate roles. So I think that just shows that there's not been, as it says there, a dramatic effect on the indicator due to the COVID during that period. Moving on then to the second priority, which is growing our peoples and places, and over to Paul for this one.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, the property section obviously is a concern that our portfolio that we're managing, and the COVID and bouncing back from that we maintain the momentous progress that we've had in the past of making sure that most of our units are taken up, and this produces a much welcome revenue to the council. Going forward, there's going to be a programme of eventual repairs to some of the property, but in terms of the actual overall vacancy figures, it's very good at the moment. The town centre obviously is a concern, and we've been handing out advice and financial incentives and support to businesses pre-COVID And of course, during the COVID crisis, the money that's been handed through government that we've devolved down to businesses has helped to maintain these businesses through the difficult patch. It'll be interesting to see how we remain on track, but the yearly indications are quite favourable, and at the moment not causing us great concern in terms of our own property portfolio. Further down, I reported earlier about the planning figures being 100%, and that, of course, was the last couple of months. This is obviously the first quarter, the next quarter of the performance report. So the next one that we shall see, we'll see even higher figures than this, and the indications, as you can see, are very favourable across the board. And I'm particularly pleased with the hard work that the officers have put in terms of meeting our targets. And of course, the legacy applications that we've still got outstanding, from reasons that are outside our control, we're making good progress in making sure that those are signed off and taken forward. So I've got nothing but praise for the officers, and I can report, and these figures are a healthy state of affairs in terms of my portfolio. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, excellent news, as we've said before. Priority number 3, a healthy and active, safe borough. Helen, a couple of community safety ones there.
Yes, thank you. As you can see, the antisocial behaviour cases numbers have gone down. Currently 11, which are actually being discussed at the antisocial behaviour conference, which is pleasing. As far as the referrals regarding vulnerability, although that's increased, that's not unexpected with COVID and lockdown easing. However, teams are working within the hub to sort of ensure that they're having access to the various agencies and partners that they need to have access to. As far as town centre and the likes are concerned, we've obviously got some new CCTV systems, which is up and running, as being very effective in being able to identify some individuals with regards to their behaviour, but it's also very good to be able to monitor any new hotspots that are coming along. Working with the police, obviously, we can still get our community protection notice warnings in place if we need to have them. And our rough sleeper team, as I've already said, they're looking at the next phase now, which is the severe weather situation with regards to our vulnerable residents there. But we do have them going out and identifying and making sure that individuals are given the need and support that is required on a day-to-day basis. Thank you.
I mean, just to echo your point there about, on the antisocial behaviour, it says there about the ASB associated to youth violence and gangs. We did have some high profile in the local paper about that across the borough, and that was dealt with through our staff, and the police particularly have really been concentrating on that to obviously reassure residents that isn't a new trend. It was a specific cases which were dealt with and are going through the courts at the moment, which was a good resolve for those, and security for people, particularly out in the suburbs. I think on the CCTV, I think you're quite right, Helen, that's a great development. It's kicked in during lockdown, during this quarter, I think, the monitoring of the new cameras, and that gives us confidence, and the police confidence, that we know we can monitor parts of the town centre with good quality footage. And also it gives people that are visiting the town centre that reassurance, and also as a warning to those that want to come in and commit any crimes of any type, that they know we will have crystal clear CCTV footage, and that can be pursued by the police to through the courts if necessary on that. There's a couple of there's 3 actually in Jill Waring's portfolio. I think my only comment on that, as it says in the comments there, the services which she covers, the museum and the leisure centre, have been decimated during lockdown and are only just recovering. So again, we can't really read anything into those figures, but we know that, J2 parts of are open and the museum is open, and we will, as I said earlier, adapt to whatever government restrictions come out over the next few months as we approach the winter, to try and keep those open as much as possible for our residents to enjoy and for fitness purposes and etc. So moving over the page to town centre for all. Steve, I'll hand over to you first.
There's no results on here for the market average store occupancy rate for markets. but with all the good work we're doing, certainly on a Tuesday, every stall's gone. On a Thursday, biggest part I'm off. Friday, biggest part I have. Because there's a lot on Saturdays now. It'll be very interesting to see what that is when we get the next quarter's figures through. It's 57%, target of 60. It'll be interesting to see what it is for next quarter. Very encouraging with that.
Yes, and I think the theme Sunday market, such as the record market, has been really successful. I think it's coming back for a third time, isn't it, in September? And linked up with a bid to encourage shops to open, and obviously the publicity of the free parking, not free illegal parking. I must point out, it's actually parking that both on street and council parking, but only in designated bays. Obviously, there is restrictions elsewhere on illegal parking, but again, that is an opportunity for people to come into town for free, and also for businesses to operate with free parking and see the benefits. But I've been down both times to the record market. I think it's excellent, bringing people in from far and wide into the town, and I think that will feed through, as you say, Steve, into the figures for the market, that it has. I wouldn't say benefited, because that's the wrong word, but it's actually had a new lease of life because of the COVID incidents. And I think, I think people aren't travelling further afield and they're coming into their local town. I think, as we said earlier, can feel safe. They can see that there's an active event market. They can see that car parking is reduced, and we were doing £1 after one, which was brought in by this administration. So anybody that comes into town after one pays £1 and can stay into the evening if they wish. And I think that's we will, through the bid, publicise that as much as possible to get people into town to support our businesses, and also the bars and restaurants in a safe and secure way. Bringing in Paul.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, this is welcome. I'm particularly heartened by the markets, and I'll be interested also to see the figures when we have those available in the fullness of time. The vibrancy of the town is very important. It's for everybody, and it underlines the efforts that this administration have done in terms of supporting not only the markets, but the CCTV via the bid, and to make sure that this is a safe town for people to visit. People can feel comforted when they come into the town, that they're not going to face the hopefully the rigours that may be seen in main city life that's highlighted in the local media. So this is good news. It's a step in the right direction. It's something that we vitally need for the future of the town. And this administration won't take the foot off the gas. We shall carry on to implement these things. We can only do so much within the time that we're given, but as we've had an excellent track record on this, residents are reassured to see that the things like the markets are now beginning to flourish again, and it's something that we've been able to do via the town centre manager. Again, through this administration, that we've put this in place. And I think it's also a testament to you, Steve, as well, for overseeing this. And it's you had a lot of flack at the beginning through the local media, and I think it's only right that you reap some of the benefits of this and the praise that goes with it. So thank you very much for that, and thanks to the residents either.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, echo that. And we did inherit a faltering market with no plans moving forward, and a farming out, as Stephen has often said, a privatisation of the market. We renationalised it by bringing it back in house, and we've got, as Paul said, our town centre coordinator who's looking after the market as well, and really showing. If anybody follows him, Newcastle Markets on Twitter, you will see the vibrancy of the market. I know on social media there are the detractors from the town and the market. We ain't be going back to the 1980s or the 70s or 60s and 50s with the different changing habits and the online shopping, but we can have a more niche appeal, a themed market, with free parking on a Sunday and reduced parking as we've done throughout the week to help the businesses and the traders, and we're going to do that. And obviously through our plans for the Future High Streets Fund, which we talked about earlier, if we get that investment from the government, we can start work on the Rycroft and get people living in and around the Ring Road area, which again is footfall and customers for our shops within the town. So I think, a lot to look forward to on that, a lot done, and there's still a lot to do, because there is, again, but we're not suffering I don't think more than any other town centre. If anything, we are, our market is encouraging. And I think, Stephen, you've been to markets, we won't name them, around the area which are in a worse state than ours. And so ours is improving, and we must really double down and make sure that that is successful and gets better and better. Recommendations for the performance and finance and performance report is that we agree and debate. We have done. So we'll move on and look at our forward plan, which is item 10. Details the forward plan for Cabinet for the next 3 months. Again, a number of items on there, and we'll go through them if I can find them. I've gone too far back in my agenda, but we'll look at the various pages. And if members have got any comments, then please shout up. Page 129 and page 130. Do we agree the forward plan, members? Okay, thank you. Moving back to the front of our agenda, item 11 is urgent business. I don't have any urgent business. The next item is item 12, and this is where